Good afternoon. My name is Tim Ryan. Welcome to the Tim and Jenn Show. This is my beautiful, badass, amazing host and better half.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Jimenez Ryan.
Ryan, you're getting used to this.
So
we've been married over a year.
I know, but it's like, it's so awesome to say it. And then, yeah.
So what's going on?
Traveling.
Yeah.
And having a lot of fun lately. Okay, so I say this because I feel like I was telling Tim last night, the last 2 weeks, we've been like on 100. And that's the first time since the lockdown last year that we've been going. And then since we got COVID, this is the most we've been, nonstop.
Back to the grind.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're back to the grind hardcore and flew in. We fly American Airlines in Alaska a lot. So we've got a flight booked, and we actually booked points. We got, business class for $5 each. We're all set, and then American calls us and says they're changing the plane.
Because
we're
it was
on
a 777.
So then they're wanting us to get down at 1:30 in the AM flight and go to Dallas. I said, no, we'll miss the connecting flight. So we go to the airport yesterday, and it's a 787. So I got to sleep the whole way and lay down, and then
I clearly didn't sleep. So I just kept poking at him, and like he was not. It was like
slept the whole way, and then my daughter picked us up.
Yeah, but can we just talk about something that like I can't get over? So what I mean about we've been laughing a lot. It feels like life's in session in a different way than the dark session we were kind of coming out of. And Tim and I, we're listening to hip hop the other day, and like all of a sudden I'm driving and I look over and he's like,
I was dancing.
But I thought he was in pain. I was like, babe, are you okay? And he was like in the move, but like really serious about the move.
Right.
So that's all I keep doing lately. Anyways, sometimes you just gotta laugh at the little things.
We're back to the grind, but we're not gonna sit here and bullshit anymore because we have
a badass,
an absolute badass guest.
Someone who has been like a favorite of mine, and we've been friends on social media, and I admire immensely.
Yeah, and I have watched this individual through comedy skits, through movie. Yep. I grew up watching this person, and then we started following each other on social media, and we have a lot in common. And
he's very raw and real.
He's raw and real, and he's funny as shit. But some of the movies he's done is True Lies. Yeah. True Lies, Schwarzenegger and our guest. 9 months, Soul Plane. He's a comedian. He's a father, has a 7-year-old and a 5-year-old, and a single father at that. Let's welcome Tom Arnold to the show. Hey, Tom, how are you?
Hey, guys, how are you? That was, it's great to see you. It's great to see you too. I feel I know you guys very well, especially Jenn. No, I do have a lot in common with you, Tim. And I have to say this, it was very fun watching you guys open the show, because I have a podcast with my assistant. She lives with the kids and I. She does childcare. She's an assistant. She's a comedian. She had a podcast before she met us, and we try to open our show, and it's never gone that well. And I see the things I need to work on. Both of us, the listening. You guys, your chemistry is so excellent. She just took my daughter to the house. I was like, well, I'm going to make sure that we watch this and steal everything that you guys do, because it was so comfortable. I was like, oh my gosh.
Steal away, Tom.
We don't have a setup, and plus sometimes we just get into a bickering.
I was going to say that. There's the truth of this. The last time we were in Florida was probably October, November.
No, October, September.
We were getting ready to do a podcast, and we got into a disagreement. And Jenn's like, F this, I'm not doing it. And we literally had 1 minute. I'm like, Jenn, and she walks down, professional as she is, kicks ass at the podcast, and read me the riot act afterwards.
We had I think you were yelling out, because I was upstairs getting ready. He's like, Jenn, 20 seconds, please, I'm sorry. And I'm like, I'm going to let him burn. I'm going to let him burn in it.
So what's going on, Tom?
Well, I'm turning 62, and I will be 62 when this airs, and the kids just had a party for me in the house, which is amazing. I've always got big. You wonder what rubs off on your kids that you do, and sometimes some bad words, and but they blew up a bunch of blues. I mean, it was a big secret thing for like a week where I couldn't go into my son's room, and not that he sleeps there. I have to say, my kids, I decorated their rooms for them in their favorite things, which is elves. My son has shelves of elves, and my daughter's a beautiful, a unicorn room. And they both have in this house. They have Murphy beds, they're dream beds, and they very rarely sleep in their bedrooms. I got us some Craftmatic beds in my bedroom because that way that we can all have things our way. But it's very kind. I'm going to Italy on Thursday to film a movie with Michael Madsen, Michael Madsen from Reservoir Dogs. It's a holiday movie, and I just did one in November, December with him called The Christmas Thieves, and now we're immediately doing another one for a Halloween version with the same characters. So I'm grateful to be working. My business has been very, shut down. I'm grateful personally to be working, and so I'll go over to Rome for 3 weeks or so. And I love Michael Madsen, and we have a great chemistry. So I need to work. I'm grateful. I'll be sad to be away from my kids, but yet not that sad.
So first off, when is the birthday?
March 6th.
Well, happy birthday.
62, man. And people are like, what does that feel like? And I just feel, it feels good to be alive, I have to tell you.
Damn straight it does. It sure does.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, are you still acting? But you answered that question.
Yeah.
How long have you actually been, when was your first movie, or how did you get into the whole acting? Were you a comedian first, or did you get into acting?
Yeah, I've been in 130 movies. My next one coming out is, I have to say, it's called High Holidays. And I have to say, Cloris Leachman, who just passed away, is in it and plays my mother-in-law, and she's so wonderful. And we had such a great time filming together. We're both from Iowa, and we really bonded. We had this amazing experience making this movie, and you'll check that out. It has to do with, believe it or not, it's called High Holiday, and there are drugs involved in this movie. So
You don't say.
but it ends up being this sweet family thing because it's a holiday movie. Now, I grew up in Ottumwa, Iowa, which is a small town, a farming community. And I had a single father with my dad too, ironically. And when I was 4, my sister was 3, my brother was 1. My dad was 22. My mother had she, much like myself, was an alcoholic. And she moved on. In our town, growing up, my dad, we always thought he worked all the time and then didn't have a lot of time to play with us. But now looking back on it, I realize he played with us a lot, and it is hard now being a parent. It is, I think back to a lot of the things he did do. And when you are a parent, you've got kids, you appreciate it more. But the times that we really heard our dad laugh, was when there was a Bob Hope special on it. Bob Hope was this great comedian, as you know, and
Sure.
back in Iowa, people worshipped Bob Hope. And my dad, we'd be upstairs in bed and we'd hear our dad laughing like crazy. And so I decided early on, whatever Bob Hope does or is, that's what I want to do. And so, and also being funny or trying to be funny is a good way to, if you're in a small town and you don't have a mom or something, anything is different. Anything is different about you. And, like Barack Obama, I was always compared, I thought, well, he was in Kansas a lot with his grandparents and his mom. And A, he didn't have a dad. And B, he was Black. So he knew exactly how I felt. And if you're in a small farming town and you're unusual, and then, he probably got picked on a lot too, like me. So he and I are kindred spirits. And so, but my dad, he that laughter. And so I also would be funny or try to be funny to get out of situations or make people like me, or that we had rough people were rough. The older kids were rough. The people.
How many people were in your town, Tom? You grew up in a
20. No, it was a big town for our area. There were 22,000 people.
So
But
that's that's like Crystal Lake, Illinois, where I grew up. We're both. In the
yeah,
Midwest.
you are Illinois. That's right. I thought it was Naperville.
Well, I lived in Naperville for 20 years, but I grew up an hour north in Crystal Lake, which had 22,000 people.
Yeah, so it's a factory town, and everybody worked at the meat packing plant or John Deere, and but the older, it's just rough. You fight people. You know how it is. Well, you know everything I'm saying. You had to fight the older kids, and if you could get them to like you, the older boys, by being funny or being something, then that was. And I found that was, they might not. You might not have to fight them after school. You still probably would, but and so.
You were the class. Were you the class clown?
Yeah, well, I became that. Yeah, and I have to say about Bob Hope. So one of the first things I did in 1988 when I moved to Los Angeles was a Bob Hope special, and Bob Hope was so nice, and he called my dad, and I remember I got a picture somewhere. He was Robin Hood, and Roseanne and I were whatever the other characters are in Robin Hood with tights and stuff, and I realized that night that I made every goal I'd ever dreamed of. I just accomplished it. So what am I going to do now? But my dad was home in the same living room watching the same TV. And I remember when I was a kid come downstairs and watching him watch Bob Hope on that TV and saying, I'm going to put myself in that TV. And what I did was I put myself in that TV. My dad was watching now me and Bob Hope.
Wow.
And so that's when people are like, oh, kids can do anything, they dream it, be it. And I used to go, well, that's a little, but it's hard for me to tell my kids that anything can't come true when literally everything I've ever dreamed of has come true. When I worked at a meatpacking plant for 3 years out of high school on the kill floor to save money for college.
Wow.
And every daydream or everything that's sitting there chiseling heads or whatever, what would it be like to meet Richard Pryor, to hang out with Richard Pryor, to be best friends with Robin Williams? And then after I got to Hollywood, I was, did this movie 9 months with Robin Williams, and we were hanging out. And I said, it just felt like I go, hey, when I was at Hormel, I had this dream like right now. He goes, what? That we were best friends. And he goes, that's insane. We're not best friends. I go, no, but I feel like best friends. But you just, to me, it just kind of things just, happen. And obviously, nobody in our hometowns were in show business, probably. But I knew that I got in so much trouble also growing up. I was an alcoholic forever, I'm sure. And got in trouble for fighting with the police, got arrested 7 times. And so it was either get out and try or, stay there. And my sister stayed, she ended up in prison, and they're doing a documentary series on Discovery Channel that's coming out very soon on her called The Queen of Meth. And, she brought methamphetamine to the Midwest and, ended up in prison for 20 years. And my brother-in-laws died in prison, and so it was a close call for me.
Wow. So
first of all, there's
Jen.
something
Jim,
so
Merry Christmas.
powerful. There's many things powerful about you, but I remember when I was a little girl, I was at the grocery store with my dad, and I was holding onto his leg, and I said, I'm going to be on the cover of that, and it happened to have been Elle magazine, and my dad later told me that. And years later, when I got discovered, I'm one of the youngest girls ever on the cover of American Idol. And I was doing an interview with somebody, and they said to me, hold on a second. You manifested that when you were 5, 6 years old. And I said, I guess so. I didn't know, what little girl doesn't want to be on a cover of something? At that moment. And to hear you say that, and with Bob Hope, and and have that moment with your dad, for your dad, and then Robin Williams, you have the gift, and also the it factor, but to make that comedy of being, because you were different. Like I felt like I was always so different. I feel like a lot of people, especially these days, feel that they're, they were different and you didn't know what that was about. Is it my alcoholism? Is it because I come from a different, I grew up in a different country? Is it because, I awkwardly look different? I didn't speak the language. I mean, it's many things, but to make something out of that, it's very profound to me. I'm in awe of that, because yet again, here you are now continuing that,
right?
Doing that.
I mean, your story is the same as mine, except if I just said to my dad, I'm going to be on the cover of Elle, that would have been, but for real, like, I do what I could do. Like, if you'd have said to your dad, I'm going to be on a Bob Hope's, which you could have very well done, Bob Hope, but I just knew something, a higher power, something told me, yeah, this is what, this is what's going to happen. And, to get there, to get out of my town to Hollywood, because people get drunk and tell their dreams, and then where I'm from, they don't. They certainly don't say, my dream is to, go to be a writer or an actor or whatever, because people, they just get beat down. They just get drunk. That's what they do. They get drunk and they fight, and they do. And that's just what you do. And I realized after about the second year in the middle of at Hormel, when you're on the kill floor, man, I mean, it's rough. You're slaughtering 35 or 6,000 hogs a day. Wow. And you look around and it's and I realized, well, maybe this dream of going to the University of Iowa, getting into the writer's workshop, doing it, then becoming an actor, maybe that's not going to happen. Maybe I'm just going to end up here like my grandpa for 45 years. And, but how do you get from Ottumwa to Hollywood? I've never even seen that happen or flown there. And that night or that week, we had a disco open up in Ottumwa called the Jailhouse, our disco, and which, by the way, my parents ruined by my dad eventually married the next door neighbor when I was 10. We felt sorry. He couldn't date. There's no, and my dad and all his friends went to the disco and line danced. It was a cool place until that happened.
But then it was over, out the window. Over.
But I went down there to the jailhouse, and when I came out at closing time, on the street was Andy Kaufman. And Andy Kaufman was a great comedian. He was on the TV show Taxi, and he was from Hollywood. And he was standing in Ottumwa, Iowa, on Main Street, and surrounded by a bunch of women who were professional wrestlers. And we have a lot of wrestling events. We worship wrestling where I'm from, professional wrestling, college wrestling. And I was shocked, and I went up to him, and there had been a professional women's wrestling event in our town that evening. And he came, he was studying at Maharishi International University, Transcendental Meditation, 20 miles away. And he came and paid the women to stay late and wrestle him because he was training for what he was doing. And then he took everybody in the crowd to Happy Joe's Pizza, which Happy Joe's Pizza is the best pizza in the world. And I was like, I want to be him. I want to be able to take everyone to Happy Joe's Pizza. But I talked to him a little bit about how did you get here? What, like physiologically, how did you, and then all of a sudden people kept coming up and he kind of ran away. But that just the fact that man from Hollywood was standing right there on the street, that it was humanly possible to get from that street to Hollywood. At that moment, I'm like, okay, it can be done, because you start going, it's never been done in this town. It's just, how crazy is that? Well, I gotta just, but yeah, it can be done.
So with that, a couple things is, when you got to Hollywood and you were on with Bob Hope, you're like, what next? Like, I've been in that moment. Like, I've done everything I've wanted to. I remember it was 2012 or 2013. I'm already sober. I just finished shooting my first movie back since I got sober. And I'd done all these reality shows, and I was laying in bed. We were the last movie to shut down before Christmas. It was like Christmas Eve or something, the night before Christmas Eve. And I'm laying there and I'm like, thank you, God, thank you. Like, I got to, shoot this movie, and we're going to go back in the new year. And I was like, and I always wanted to be a counselor. I became a counselor. I was, doing these shows. I was facilitating groups. I was a model. I got to act again. And everyone told me no. I was just a reality girl when I got sober again. And here I am. And I'm like, I've done everything I wanted to do. What's next? But you doing that, like getting to that place, and you're so young, and you're so like, you come here and that happens. Then what's next? Another thing, Andy Kaufman. My first movie, I never talk about this, actually. I've never really publicly talked about it. Tim knows this, and other people know. The first movie I got was playing Tony Clifton's girl, one of his girls, at the end of Man on the Moon. Oh my God, what's his name? Why did I just blank on his name? Who played Andy Kaufman?
Jim Carrey.
Jim Carrey. Oh my God.
Oh, yeah,
Jim Carrey as Andy Kaufman playing Tony Clifton at the end at the Comedy Store. We get cut off the movie, but like spending those days, and I'm like sitting here going, this is like unbelievable. I can't believe I'm watching this. Like, this is so cool. So when we go, I told Tim, like, when we go to the Comedy Store.
We go to meetings when the Comedy Store was
back
open.
in the day, I'm like, I was on that stage, like shooting. It was so crazy, I got cut off, but it was still like amazing experience. So what do you do? Like, and yet, like, you're hiding behind, like, you're this funny guy, but there's so much feeling behind you and so many things going on, and you're such a survivor. Like, what's going on for you at that moment? Like, once you pass the Bob Hope moment?
Well, I mean, everything about me, a lot of things about me make me laugh, that I just kind of laugh to myself, like, that was the thing. But I'm here, and I was also here to write the Roseanne show. But to me, which I would say to everybody that would listen, oh, this is my dream job, writing. But the truth is, when I left my town, I just wanted to be on TV once, doing comedy or something, because I thought, well, then everybody in Ottumwa, Iowa will like me, which turns out to not be true. That was me when I was young. Well, I got to get these people to like me. If I just go on TV once, then they will. Well, we know that is, I speak for myself, that is absolutely not true. And so my goals and my, changed, but I did, and the picture of what I did, it does warm my heart that my dad, that I did that. My dad is as we always say, a man of few words. We say that a lot about men. I try to be a man of many words with my kids, and a lot of times they're like, "Dad, could you please stop talking?" I'm like, "Okay, I will. I'll come back." But that was a meaningful thing. But I also had this great opportunity to write this TV show with somebody who'd been my friend for since 1983, when we were. Before I met Roseanne in 1983, when I'd moved from Iowa to Minneapolis to do stand-up comedy, and like the first month I was there, I met Roseanne. We were booked to perform together, and she was a comedian from Denver who was not famous, but was a great comedian. And the guy that owned the club said, "Hey, I saw this great comedian in Denver. You guys are gonna have a lot in common. So I want you guys will work this weekend at the club." And we did, and we hit it off right away. And we went and borrowed the MC's car and then disappeared, of course. We had a lot in common. We hit it hard. I was 23 when I met Roseanne.
Wow.
And she's married, and she had a family back in Los Angeles, and I stayed. She had moved. I think she was moving. She had family in Denver, and then she's moving. And she was breaking up with her husband, I believe. But I liked him a lot and got to know the kids. And then, but I stayed back in the Midwest until 1988, and we'd meet on the road and do road show, gigs and party a lot. And then I played her husband in an HBO special, and I was just so excited for her. She in 1985 she went on Johnny Carson, which is her big break. Like any comedians, man. Back in the day, there was one talk show. Really, there's a billion now. And man, if Johnny Carson, if you killed,
he made people's careers overnight.
Yeah, and he was worshipped by everybody, every generation too. It's not like, well, it's just for the young, old people or whatever. And he loved her, and she killed. He invited her to sit down, and that's worth, back in those days, you got a series and $150 million basically, and or plus. And she killed.
Wow.
And she did I was writing jokes for her at the time. She did a couple of jokes I'd written, and I remember I had all my friends in Minneapolis, and I think this is something that's really important. You got to be able to, and it's genuine, but you got to be able to root for people. Like, I think that people talk a lot about how jaded or cynical people in Hollywood are. I know they are politically, where you can't root for people, but I think part of it is because Roseanne is older than me, not that 7 years, but man, and she was ahead of me in the, she'd started comedy before me, and just from day one, I was like, she's amazing. She was my friend too. I just rooted for her. Plus, she thought I was amazing. They're hilarious, and I don't know if it's a guy thing, but we know we're good looking. But when somebody genuinely that is funny thinks you're funny, that's a then you're in.
Huge
But
compliment.
yeah.
Okay, well, put yourself in my shoes, Tom. When I want to expand my speaking career and everything I do, and I reach out to Jenn, and I'm in the middle of my second divorce, and we're talking, and I ultimately meet her. When I was going to meet Jennifer, I was meeting her for strictly business. And I fell in love with her first sight. I told her 3 hours later, I'm going to marry you. And she's like, hold on. Why don't you get your divorce, go sow your oats?
Yeah.
And but game on. I mean, and I pinch myself sometimes because I'm like, do I deserve this? I've got a wife that's 15 years sober, that's gorgeous, that loves me, that worships me, that picks my hairs like a little fucking monkey.
I'm a picker.
But the things we get to do and the life we get to live and the life we choose to live and the energy we put out. And, 7 years ago, I was sitting in the Illinois Department of Corrections. So, for my third DUI, and today I'm, married to a supermodel actress doing a fucking podcast with Tom Arnold. Go fucking figure.
Yeah. It's really interesting because when you're telling the story, like I so see you there, and it's like, it's fast, and it's like, there's a lot of drugs, sex, rock and roll, and just like the funnier you are, the more brilliant you are, and then I kind of know that world, not because I think I'm funny, but because I've been around other comedians and stuff in that world. And
when did the wheels start to come off for you, Tom?
Well, no, I think that obviously at an early age, I started drinking alcoholically, probably 12 years old, less 11, 12. We get in our neighborhood with beer, hard liquor. There was a thing though where I was from where you either drank booze or you did drugs. There was the greasers or the stoners, and I didn't. But I was starting to get arrested when I was 15 for interfering with official acts, which is fighting with the police. And I started getting drunk driving. I ended up with 3. But there was just fighting. I got to fight with a famous fight in my town with and there was. Then I have to say this: the police. There was a police, then there was a sheriff's deputies. It's a small, but they knew, everybody knows who everybody is, and a couple of them were my cousins, and but there's one particular guy, Bruce Allen, who's about 6'5". I'm 6'2", and this guy, they're just, there's the people still talk about the fight at McDonald's where I came in there with a beer, and he happened to be sitting back there, and kicked me out. This was a late night, with my friends, and I went around to his window where he was sitting and gave him the finger, and I didn't leave. And I went to the restroom in the back of the McDonald's, and he, his legendary tough guy came back, and my friends all saw him take his hat off and his belt off, the gun belt off, and come into that bathroom behind me. And I didn't see him. I was at the urinal. He punched me, and then it spilled out into the, this it's that kind of town. But and then literally the next day, I had to drive. I drove down to Atlanta, Georgia, to watch the Iowa Hawkeyes play Tennessee in the Peach Bowl, and that dude was sitting next to me.
Oh
and
my
we
God.
were rooting, we were cheering for the Hawkeyes because that's what, I had a black eye. I got bailed out of jail really early, and he was rooting for me, and or rooting for our team. But I'll tell you, it got dangerous because there was a few times I'd be back at a squad car, and my dad. I mean, I say this, I until I had my son, my children, I would always say, people say, what did your dad think about you getting arrested or bailing you out? And I say, oh, he didn't care. But the moment I saw my son, I cut the cord, I saw him, I went, oh yeah, he cared. He cared about all that stuff. Yeah, he cared because you care, obviously you care about everything. So, I mean, I made it, the police in our town were, they put, there were some bad ones, there were some good ones, that they were up for a lot. There were some great ones. Some were my friends, they're the best, but some wanted to fight, and some would, I had a guy that was begging me with the gun to his head when I was 16 to begging me to say another word. I was like, fuck you. But I was also, because of my being an alcoholic and, doing dangerous things like knocking down stop signs with the car, like, driving intoxicated, like doing a lot of drive my own motorcycle all the time drunk. I'm very grateful I never hurt anyone and myself. And again, my sister, who was this major drug dealer, the police worked for her. And my seventh stepfather was the chief of police, and he freaking hated me, and I hated him. But he loved my sister, and when she finally got busted, when the DEA, I mean, it was a big drug bust. She had a 157-acre farm with an underground lab, and the cops worked for her. So
now, did you know about this lab? Did you know what your sister was up to?
Well, I knew this. I knew when she came over, there's by now 7 kids in our family. And she came over for like Thanksgiving. She had a big purse about this big. And she'd say, you guys want any drugs? And I'd say, what do you got? She goes, everything. And then everybody get up from the table. My dad allegedly never knew. And we go out to the garage and she'd open it up. And she didn't really have to say anything. She just come in, we'd see her come in with that purse, and all the kids, we'd all go out to the garage, and we'd stand in a circle, and it'd be like 10 below zero. And she had, she made meth. I found, I knew she was in the methamphetamine business. I didn't know how big it was, but she'd give us, and she had everything. And we'd all sit out there, and then my friends would come over into the freaking garage. And I knew that she dealt with a lot of, stolen stuff, and they were bikers. Her husband was the president of the Grim Reapers, and I did not like him, and feeling was mutual. But that's why the first time she got busted, I think it was 91, 92. I supported her and my friends, and she gave a drug to. We all pitched in, and I got her a great lawyer, got her a decent sentence at a great prison in West Virginia, the Martha Stewart prison. And I work with the DEA guys, and I do the drug court stuff, and so because she'd had a gun which is mandatory 10 years. There's a great scene at the trial where there's 3 DEA guys undercover. She thinks they're a Mexican mafia guys, and she's doing this big drug sale, and one guy says, "We're surprised you're not afraid to do something this big by yourself," and she said, "Well, why would I be afraid?" And just put a gun right out there, and you see the guy sit back. But that got her 10 years. There's no but it really was important because of her childhood. I knew what my childhood was like, and hers was worse because she went to my mother. We all eventually moved in there, but she thought my mother was a rock star. My mother made her go. My mother took her to Missouri when she was 14 and marry her rapist, who was 22.
Jesus.
So she went off. I went off the cliff. She went into when that guy beat the crap out of her on her wedding night, and I ended up I was 15 and a half. I ended up going to beat the crap out of him and whatever. And she ended up getting into prostitution, drugs, and then, she was a very intelligent person. And then said, "Well, why don't I make money off this? And then why don't I make a lot of money?" And then her next husband, was the president of this Grim Reaper's motorcycle gang. Said, "We live in Iowa, the Interstate 80's right here. I want to make it big. Why don't we do?" And then it just kept growing, and then dealing with people from Chicago and Mexico and Los Angeles. So, but she had it rougher. She had it. So
what people that are listening to this don't understand, because I'm from the Midwest, and prior to getting with Jenn, well, even with Jenn, I've done a lot of interventions. I've worked with a lot of families in Indiana, Missouri, Kentucky, Iowa, Illinois, and they don't understand the grips of methamphetamine. And a lot of these families we would do interventions with, it's not only the son or daughter, it's the mom and dad that are involved, or one or the other because they're divorced, dead, or in prison, and the grandparents. I mean, this is all they know what to do. And there's a lot of abuse and sexual trauma and bad stuff that goes on. And
there's a lot of childhood trauma
Yeah.
that we don't even talk about. And I think it's so important that we do, because, I speak a little bit about this when I go out and about, but like my mom comes from all types of abuse. So she's poverty, like Argentina, like she was lucky if she ate bugs. I mean, it was like, just like a little
shanties.
Yeah. I mean, it was
horrific. Horrific.
My mom's done a 180 in her life, and she didn't realize that until later in her life. So like I already have had, and I come from sexual, assaults and sexual abuse and stuff like that from modeling and throughout the years of my life. And I think that we don't realize like what makes a person who they are, like your sister, like there's a lot of trauma.
There's a
there.
ton of trauma.
Hurts. It literally hurts when I hear this story, and the things that you experience too. We all experience,
Well, yeah.
And I think I always tell Tim, like, it's really important for us to dig deep.
So I'm going to be real honest. I got out of prison and I did a little therapy, but I didn't start doing hardcore therapy until Jennifer came into my life and got me connected with the most badass therapist. But I got honest, and once I, wrote a book and had a documentary, and I'm a guest of the State of the Union. My mom, and I love my parents. They did the greatest job upbringing, adopted 4 kids. We had dinner every night at 6:30. My mom didn't know I was sexually abused until she read my Wikipedia page. And she's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" And my dad worked for this company, F. Hutton. And I said, "Remember that trip you guys won to Europe and I stayed with Jeff? Yeah. His parents were out of town. He had a babysitter, and this is what happened." But I had compartmentalized a lot of this. And Tom, until I was in prison, and my cellmate Big Perk called me today, that man helped save my life, a former Chicago gang chief. But that's where it hit me. Oh my God, I had been sexually abused as a child, and it's not a badge of honor, but that was part of the factors of why I lived the way I did for so long. Well,
we're all abuse survivors, and when I talk about my mom being not, she always said, "I'm not maternal. I don't want to, and I won't tell you I love you, but I'll touch your knee once in a while when she would come over." And a bad thing that my dad did was he always laughed when she would be hammered or be inappropriate. And I'm not going to do that. there's been some issues with my kid's mom where just bad behavior. And what I used to do, everybody says take the higher ground. It's always in front of the kids and with the cops and what I do now is I pull them aside afterwards. I say that's not. I would never treat her that way. I would never treat people that way. And that's not appropriate behavior. And I don't ever want you guys to treat anyone that way. And don't ever act that way. You understand? And they do, because I think if you just let it go, they lose a little touch with reality. Now, when I was, so my sister never got corrected. She always just saw my mom just acting. So she just, nobody ever gave her a reality check when she was young. Like, that is not okay. That is, so one of the things that alcoholics are notoriously sloppy, can be sloppy. And when you were children, and one thing my mom would do before my parents got divorced is she would disappear. And she had a boyfriend, but she would leave. She left us kids. She left me with a man across the street. And it was just a bad choice. And this guy raped me. Now, when I didn't tell my dad. And I remember my dad noticing I had something, which we decided was I had poison eye in my butt. And I treated it with, but he asked because when he gave me a bath and this went on because the guy was right across the street from our house. And with his documentary, we went back to that spot and he would say, his parents lived in the house and there was a big family thing. And he would say, everybody has guns back there. And my dad's car would pull up and he would say, if you ever say anything, I'm going to kill your dad, your sister, I'm going to kill, because everybody's got their guns out too. And so it wasn't just like inferred, it was like, this is what's going to happen. And so when I got sober the first time, and this is the last time I drank, in 1989, one of the first things when I truly got sober, I put this together and I said, this is important. I'm making amends, dealing with my resentment, working the steps. And I said, I got to go back and I have to deal with this. This is important. So I had my brothers, we tried to find the guy. And I was, and so we located him. And by now he's a big religious leader in our state and a big successful businessman. He's moved out of Tumble, he's in Des Moines. And I'm thinking, I want to confront him in a healthy way. My therapist will work out what to say so I don't get in a fight, get arrested. And I'm looking for the moment, and I'm really, it's just the practicing for this is, and at the same time, my sister getting ready for trial and having a hearing, and one of her hearings, and I mentioned on TV that this has happened to me. And I said, I think it was Oprah, and I said, I'm not going to say his name, but I'm going to call him Terry Williams. And that was his name. And at my sister's trial, a woman came up and says, I'm Terry Williams' brother's wife. And it happened to him too.
Wow.
And so I know the brother, and I was like, okay, it's go time. So I flew in, went to his place of business, walked in at the reception, like, oh my God, it's Tom Arnold. I go, yeah, I'm here to see Terry Williams. She goes, oh, I'm going to tell you. I go, don't tell, just show me where his office is. We're old friends from Iowa. And man, it just was like that thing. And I started walking and he happened to come out of his office and that long hall thing and just started, here, he's a pretty big dude, as I could hear back, but we're killers. But I was like, the whole speech, here to give you back your pain and shame. You caused me as a kid. If you try to do that to me now, I'd break your neck. And he came right up on me, which is crazy, and put his finger in my chest and said, your memories are wrong, which tells me he's been confronted before. And for a second, I was 4, 5, 6 years old. Like for a second, I smelled the room behind when you walk in the side of their house where we kept the shoes on the thing, and there was a kind of a secret door, and it was there, and I could smell the laundry in the backyard. I could smell everything, and then I snapped out of it. I'm like, dude, I'm 6'2", I'm 240. And then I bent his hand back, And I said, did you hear me? I would break your fucking neck. And by now, a bunch of his employees are out in the hall because Tom Arnold is there. And I can see in his eyes, yeah, he gets it. My whole thing was, and this is something that I didn't want to be at Walmart in a Tumwa walking around and have that dude be behind me going, hey, see that celebrity? I fucked him. That's what I'm going to get to, that fucking dude. And so I went right from there to the governor of Iowa, was Terry Branstad, who was just Trump's ambassador to China. He's a Republican. He said, but I went right, I liked him. And so I went right to the state capitol. I went right in his office. I said, listen, man, this guy, you've got to shut him down. I found out he was about to adopt his fourth child, fourth boy. You got to shut this shit down. This is what he's done. I've been to every law enforcement. The statute of limitations is over. I went over to confront him, and he's like, "Whoa, Tom, you got to get the fuck out of here. You're asking me to commit a federal offense. You were not here." Yeah, because I was like hot, screaming at him too. And then 4 days later, my brother calls me, goes, "Hey, there was a snafu with his paperwork, and that adoption that did go through." Because I had my brothers, like, we were on top of it with our, my brothers get our little, we had a private eye, but we also were on top of it. And then I said, have I done enough? Have I done enough? Not, and so I had my brothers put up signs 6 blocks around his house, kid high, that his face, his name, his crimes, at every Tuesday and Friday, because he would take him down for 6 weeks, what he'd done. And then 30 more kids came forward after that. But so I thought, wow, that's it. Wow. That's it. That's all I need. I've done it, man. I'm on top of it, screw him. But then in 2013, man, my son was born, and that's my first child. And just, you see that baby, and then he starts getting a little older, and you see him getting a little older. And then at some point in your life, you go, oh shit, that's what I look like. Because in the back of your mind, you're always going, well, maybe I was a bad kid, or maybe, you just can't get over that. Like, maybe it was fine. And then you look at your child, you're like, I was perfect like that. That's what I was. That's what people were doing. Nobody was watching me. People fucking took that perfect. I was that, and put him in that house with that person, and he did that. And it just, I went to rehab in 2017 for benzos because, I dealt with the alcohol. I did cocaine. I relapsed at 19 years on opioids when I broke my back, and didn't get off I kept being my own doctor, but this benzos, just couldn't sleep. And then I was my own doctor with benzos, which, and Ativan and Xanax. And then I went to Crossroads, and just the benzos, I gotta tell you, getting off those, but
that's hell on earth.
Yeah, it's hell on earth. But it was, I just had to deal. I had to start trauma therapy. I had to deal with that, because it was so shocking that the reality of, oh my God, that's, because you could blow off, well, this happened, I fucking got the guy's face, I shut down his business.
So first off, we love you. We feel your pain. We thank you for sharing your pain, because if that was me going to confront this guy, I would have killed him.
Yeah.
I would have killed him. And I know you wanted to, and now I'd be sitting in prison again for the rest of my life. But due to that pain and breaking your back, opiates and benzos, but then you finally went and put your hand up and said, I've got to deal with this.
Yeah, but there's a lot to there's so much. And I hope that somebody who's listening is relating and finding the similarities if they've gone through this experience or know somebody that's gone through this experience. Because, I've just recently started talking, before I've talked about sexual abuse and stuff like that, but I mentioned it lightly recently in a couple of things that we've talked about, done. But I have a lot of flashbacks, and they're fast flashbacks. And I have been in therapy trying to slow the faces down and the experiences down because I want to know more. And the reason why I want to know more is since this whole Jeffrey Epstein stuff started, the faces of the documentaries that we've seen, that the guys are like Victoria's Secret's guy, and I worked for them before, like, or this or that, other faces have come up from there. I am not part of the Jeffrey Epstein story. But during the whole Me Too movement, I started writing a book, and like, I remember my agent calling me saying, if you do a tell-all right now about these names that you want to tell, your career is over. And then Me Too happened. I was like, what? So, and then they wanted to attach me, and I'm a total supporter of Me Too. I'm behind that, but I want to tell it my way. However, with the faces and the things that are happening, I need to slow certain things down in order to do it. And so I'm back into a deeper trauma therapy now, right, to understand things. And, you know, I also at 7 years sober, I went through this experience where I realized that a doctor had sexually assaulted me. When I was in treatment, I had to go to my doctor, and I was 7 years sober, and it was like this memory came back. I don't know. I was doing a group. I was with a bunch of doctors afterwards, filling out the paperwork after my group session. And I don't know if it was a sense memory. I don't know if someone looked at me, may have said what it was, but the whole thing came back to life. And you know, to be in recovery and go and do this amends and do all that work, and then all of a sudden you're realizing like years later that you need to do more work. I always say, you know, when things come up, it's because we got to dig even deeper, you know, and a lot of times people don't know that they have to go to trauma therapy, you know, and how important that is.
Well, and a lot of people too think, if you're a 12-stepper, think their sponsors or therapists. Yeah. Your sponsor is to help you save your ass, not your face, and take you through the steps. They're not your therapist. And my therapist does. It's funny because if I haven't talked to him in 3 weeks, Jenn will say, yeah, it's time for you to call John and set up an appointment. It's a 3-week rule. Yeah. But after it, and he knows how to shift and guide things. And, you know, the one thing we talk about, it's okay to ask for help, you know. Mm-hmm. One thing we say, or I'll say, is nobody should have to have the trauma they endured. But if you have endured it, it's your responsibility to get the help for it so you can heal and be a better father as you're doing, yes, and a better person, yes, and enjoy the rest of your life without living in that bullshit that happened 30, 40 years ago.
How is the trauma therapy going for you right now?
I've liked it a lot. You know, I do other therapy too, and I'm not like inundated with therapy, especially since you can't go in person. But I've liked it a lot. I mean, it's been you know, I found it. I mean, it opened up a lot. I actually started it at Crossroads, and you know, which is when you first start it, there's a lot, you know, a lot going on, and so it's something I continued since for 3 years and almost coming on 4 years. But I like it, you know, and I like you know, I go to a lot of 12-step meetings. You know, I've been in the Common Store meeting that you guys love a bunch of times, but I like med stags too. But I think it's something I really needed to do, and I also needed to slow things down, like you said, Jenn. You know, to kind of really get things in focus, because when you go, it's important. And when you have kids, like you just have to clear out everything. You just have to be, you know, excellent. And it's always you're always a work in progress. And my feeling, you know, one of the things I've been divorced 4 times. But I was engaged 4 times before that. I haven't.
Right, so we got a lot in common.
I know.
3 DUIs. I'm never getting divorced again. I can assure you that. I have found my love, but man, there's a lot in common there.
Yeah. Right. Well, I mean, it's all. Yeah. I mean, I was engaged, married. I mean, marriage is the best game in town. I just, you know, and because if I changed anything, then I wouldn't be here where I am literally today with my kids. So, but you know, you you go into marriage and you don't break the big rules, and you guys are amazing because you're not exactly the same. Sometimes I married people just like me. Sometimes I married people way too young. Sometimes, but you don't know. But you certainly, you learn from it, and then you say, what could I do better? Just what could I have done better? I think you also got to marry mature people that have but you learn, and who knows what's going to happen.
Let us know. We'll come to your next wedding, Tom.
Absolutely. I'll sing at your wedding too. By the way, the people I have married, I am an ordained minister, are still married. All of them. They're gay, mostly gay couples, but they're all still married. I've married 4 couples.
That's
So
awesome.
I'm 4-0 marrying people. I'm 0-4 getting married. So I know what I'm good at. So
Wait, so
hold on. Let's. That's good because Jen and I.
So I never have been married.
She's never been married. No
married.
kids. I've had 5 kids. 1 deceased. I've got a 5-year-old, and Abby will be 20 tomorrow. We're down in Florida. We're taking her out, and then Tanner's 21, and Max is 22, and Nick would have been 26. I can't keep it straight. But Jen and I got married a little over a year ago, at the Justice of the Peace in Beverly Hills on New Year's Eve. And last year, October, we were supposed to have a big ceremony, but obviously COVID hit. So now when we are able to have a ceremony, we'll probably have to do a little ceremony again. Tom, would you give us, of course, you'd be a guest, but would you give us the honor of remarrying us at our own wedding?
I would be honored. I'd be honored so much.
Badass. There we go. There we go. That's awesome.
So that's so cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I'm really excited. Wait, I do got to say this because like COVID, sometimes post-COVID, like I forget things. This keeps coming up. I feel that like Tom, you're like a groundbreaker and a mover and a shaker, and you like did things that like we were 30 years, 20 years behind you when you were coming out publicly about a man who had done this to you, who had, did what he did. With your name, you were doing this, and your family and all these supporters, like you were like balls to the wall, like this is it. Like I need to talk about it. Oprah, like 30 years ago, people weren't really talking about it, and especially men. But I have found that it's really hard for men to be able to talk about this stuff. And here you are doing that back then.
Well, Marilyn Vandermeer Atler is my hero. She was Miss America in the 50s, and this beautiful woman still is beautiful, from Denver, Colorado, and her father was raping her while she was, and he's a huge businessman, respected, and she came forward, and she was on the cover of People magazine, she was on the shows, and I met her, Roseanne, but we've stayed friends, and she's spoken to more survivors of childhood sexual abuse than any human being on the planet. That's what she does.
Wow.
And she has, she's a personal friend, she's an inspiration. The no shame, and I'm Marilyn Vandermeer, and I have no shame. She says it at the end of this, and you're talking about incest, and it blew people. This is high society. When she confronted her father, he had a gun on him, and she didn't go public until after he died, and her own family turned on her, and she's been just her. There's a documentary that I when it introduced about her, that's just someone put together. It's like you see the bravery and the just anybody who speaks out. Let's just be honest. People who speak out about their recovery, if they or the abuse, and I can imagine speaking out about Jen, your industry, anything. Just the first people who spoke out about Me Too, how much shit they got, anything that we talk about. But yeah, as a man, because everybody's like, that's gay.
Yeah.
I was raped, I was 4. That's not, that doesn't make me gay, I don't think. But you just got to be like, I don't give a shit what anybody thinks about me. It doesn't, and I do, like you, my dad did say, I had no idea. Why did he tell me? I said, because I didn't know what it was. And when later in life, when I got my stepmother, who was next door, who babysits, gave us a book about sex, and I opened it up to how people have sex. I was like, oh shit, I've done that. Or that has happened. Like,
Wow.
I was like, what? Sex is something, wow, is this magical thing, sex, and you have a baby. Is it something you buy to add to your body or whatever? And I was like, oh shit, yeah, that's already been done. You know, so so that's felt this way. But no, you just do it and keep the way I've looked at things, you just and a lot of other, and since then, obviously, I definitely was one of the first that just stayed, on it. Because believe me, if the bad guys have anything to, because shaming us is a good way to get people like us to not be ourselves, or, because we've lived under shame, obviously, since we were kids, and to just throw that out there and tell the truth. Like I said, I was 19 years sober, and I relapsed. I took a 20-year cake. I took the cake.
My man.
I took the cake, and then I said a little bit, and I was like, I'm still on the pain pills from the motorcycle wreck. I think I might. I think I should call my sponsor and they would have to start over. But and then to get up and go, I have 2 days. But I took the cake. I ate the cake. But it's all a process, and and when you tell people, oh, I had long-term sobriety and then I relapsed it, because they go, oh, yeah, that happened to me too. I'm very ashamed. I didn't want to admit it in a meeting. I wouldn't want to talk about it. And the opioid, I know you talk about that a lot, the epidemic, because the thing I think that has saved my life is I never stopped going to meetings. I went to meetings when I was all fucked up.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm totally fucked up. But I was still on meetings, but just to stay connected, and and the service work, and just to talk it on here, and the people we meet, and we say this, I did this, and I'm sober here, and you guys are very humble, and it's great. I'll tell one last story. I went up to Lorain County, Ohio last year. For a drug court thing, and everybody's like, I love the governor from there. He's a Republican, and I'm not a Republican. I'm just going to tell you, but my friends wanted me to support Mike DeWine when he was running, and I said, because they're all Republicans. I said, well, what is he going to do that would make me support him? And they said, well, does he believe in addiction? Does he think it's real? What is he going to do to help? Give me something. They said the opioid epidemic, he knows it's real. He's going after the bad guys. He's going to put people in place that are not to run social services, to run the hospitals. He's going to make rehabilitation available. He's going to add a lot of humanity to the structure of the state. He believes, and we had a conversation about it. And that's how he was as Attorney General. That's what he's going to do. He gets it. And I'll tell you what, he did, and he got rid of all the people that were just friends of the last governor, and added so much humanity. And so I went up there, and I talked about my sobriety, and then we had the drug court people. We had a big there's some people that had been a year sober, and they got their release from their bonds, but we also started a rehab center for women and babies.
Yep.
And where we took care of them, and it was great. And just to see the people involved, these old judges and sheriffs, especially the sheriffs, who I'm like any other day, man. But we were all it just felt so good that we were on the same team. And the Eastern Ohio FBI, we had they had a contest. This is probably the most touching, because not normally this group of people who just wanted to be of service, I have been arrested before. I assume some of these guys were Trump supporters. I know that I know the sheriffs were. I know that, but for these kids, and the kids of who are being raised by their grandparents. This whole generation up there, and the FBI guys that came up with an idea have an art contest, and the kids could draw and make art of what their lives were like. And the best was we set it up where they get into college or art schools, and we set up an art show, like a gallery, at this big, nice fancy event, and it was devastating. And the art, but what they suffered so much abuse, but they really, you could tell they'd been in therapy, and people had eyeballs on them now, but this light had started to, from their trauma, and they were able to put this into this art, and it was awful what they lived with, because they'd show them, their parents would be like out, they showed a lot of drug stuff, but their art was so beautiful. And I think that because people were talking about it, and I also saw the progress of having this prison and then they're teaching them how to be sober mothers too, and how many mothers just got fucked over because they're with guys. They're like, hey, hold this. And I saw that for my sister in prison, where and it just seemed better. And what we did is we gathered the best of the best. The best. We had a father whose son was sober for 9 months and star athlete, and then he went to bed one night, and obviously he took a bunch of opiates, and he woke up dead. He found them, or how that there's so much sudden death right now, and it's the worst. And so he could speak from that. And we took this sort of A team of people from around the country and took this one county, because Kelly had Conway, no offense, she was in charge of the national response, but I just felt like something is being done. And that, you guys know that. That's what you guys do.
Tom, it's interesting because this summer will be 3 years ago, I did a massive event in Dayton, Ohio, and it was me and Mike. He was the keynote, and then I was the main keynote, but I got to spend some time with him and his wife, and he told me, he said, I'm going to be running for governor, and I'm going to make some changes with this opiate epidemic. And the man stuck to his word, and he's really a good man. And Tim Ryan, the congressman from Ohio, is doing a lot too with the opiate epidemic and mental health. And I think it's badass that you're involved. And, we could talk for another 3 hours here. Offline, when you get back from Rome, we want to get together with you, because there's so much for us to talk about offline that I think we could do together. But you're absolutely coming back on this show. No ifs, ands, buts.
So how long are you going to be in Rome for?
I'll be in Rome till the 20th, about the end of March.
Oh, nice.
By the way, I this. What I said, I was there in November, December, and I said, I need to come back here after COVID single, because I'd never been to Rome single. I can just tell you, just by going to the first night I had dinner on the roof of this place with the director, and I could just tell you, I need to go to Rome single. I could just tell by the people that wanted to take me out to show me the town. Once in my life, I want to go somewhere.
He's coming back married.
So I lived in Milan, and I used to work in Rome a lot. And then a girl, Cameron Diaz, did a movie, Gangs of New York, and I went to visit her for a week and a half and stayed 2.5 months back in the day. So Rome is one of my favorite places on earth. For you to do it single is going to be amazing. Yeah. And the food and the clothes and the people are beautiful.
There's everybody is dressed so well, and everybody wears masks, and everybody does, and the cops are dressed well, and the people and the people that go around and tell you to pull up your mask are dressed well, and just even watching the people in line at Sephora, paced out in front, and they had this cathedral. I assume it's Roman Catholic. I'm Jewish, but I actually went in there just because I just felt like I by myself. I needed to feel some love. Yeah, and then of course if the Jesus, pardon me, was like he was not in good shape, and I was like, as a Jew, I was like, oh my God, but they really
are so beautiful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, but I just needed to but it's good. It was good, man. Good spiritual.
I thank you for being such an open book on all your views, all your experiences, even like your political views. I love it so much. And I really look forward to having you back on the show.
Yeah,
it's gonna be incredible. I thank you for being a very open book from way back in the day.
Thank you. It's
Yeah.
great. My daughter's taking pictures of me outside the window. My little fire. Quinny, come here.
Bring her in.
Come here, honey. Come here, honey. Yeah, I appreciate it. It's good to. You guys are amazing people. You have an amazing story, but together, separately and together. Quinny, come here real quick. Come here, honey. And
Thank you for being an amazing father.
Yeah, and thank you for loving those kids. And
Come here,
Hi.
hi.
You out there taking pictures?
How
You're
are we?
beautiful.
How are you?
Yeah, do it. Jim.
We'll smile. Tom,
he's a-
go love your
Hi.
children.
Happy
Bye.
birthday.
Stay happy. Say bye.
Happy
All right, you guys.
birthday.
Bye.
We
We
love
love
you.
you so
Thank
much.
you, Tom.
Thank you.
We'll be in touch.
Thank
Again,
you.
this is Tim Ryan and Jennifer Jimenez thanking Tom
Thank you.
Arnold
Thank you.
for coming on the Tim and Jen show. We'll see you next week. Have a
All
great
right,
evening.
bye, guys.
Thanks, Tom.
Bye.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
We want to talk to you about Clean Cause, better caffeine. What's in the can? Our organic, sparkling Herba Mate is a premium pick-me-up that won't let you down. Every can of Clean Cause contains 160 milligrams of better caffeine, and each sip supports recovery from alcohol and drug addiction. 50% of the profits go to assist people into sober living. Check out cleancause.com.
Hope. At Rosecrans, it's more than a wish. Hope has power. As the proven behavioral health leader in the Midwest, no other program offers our depth of experience and hope here at Rosecrans. And when someone you love struggles with substance abuse and mental illness, hope plays an important part in recovery. Life's got bigger plans for you. We should know. We're the most trusted name in treatment and the best choice for those who dare to hope. Visit us at rosecrans.org. Life's waiting.
Seaside Palm Beach is an executive luxury addiction treatment center located in Palm Beach, Florida. Our private clients come from all over the world, including business executives, professional athletes, celebrities, and more. Seaside Palm Beach offers first-class amenities and high-end accommodations, including a gourmet culinary experience, ocean views, pet-friendly facilities, and access to cell phones and laptops during your stay. If you or a loved one are struggling with addiction, please call us at 877-959-5053. Again, that number is 877-959-5053.
Now, glutathione is a big word, but it's the body's own master antioxidant. So it's a scavenger for free radicals, for bacteria, and what's relevant now, viruses. This is new to the marketplace. There's no other product on the market that has the ingredient NACET.
And basically NACET increases the production of that glutathione that is in our body already to strengthen and enhance our immune system and keep it strong. Elevated sense of well-being. Supports muscle strength and endurance. Cognitive function. Powerful liver support. Energy, helps blood sugar regulation, superior bioavailability of key ingredients.
One of your best defenses against COVID is a strong immune system. Taking GSH Plus as a daily supplement does all that. And now we have the product out on the marketplace.